In this video, I'm going to teach you how to bind the yo-yo. And binding is the trick that you use when you're playing with a non-responsive yo-yo to get the yo-yo to wind back up. And so in this video, I'm going to teach you a few different ways to bind just to get you started. Now, the first technique of binding is that usually binding is easier, especially if you're just learning, if you get the yo-yo on the string in the opposite direction. And the reason for this is that if the yo-yo is on the string in the opposite direction, that also means that it's spinning the opposite direction, which is going to make it easier to do your bind. So if you're doing your front mount, this is normally the way the yo-yo lands on the string. To do your bind, you're going to flip it around and get it on the string in the opposite direction. Same thing with your side mount or your trapeze. You're going to do your bind over here, and that's going to make it easier to get the yo-yo to come back up. So the first technique for your bind that I found is very easy to do is to pinch the string with your opposite hand. So it's going to be wrapped over your finger here. You can pinch it with your thumb. I usually use my first finger. And once it's pinched, you're going to want to raise your yo-yo hand up a little bit. So you can see that I've started with my yo-yo hand close to the yo-yo. Just raise it up a little bit, and as soon as you do that, you'll start to feel the string wrap around the axle of the yo-yo. And as soon as you start to feel that, you're just going to unpinch it, you're going to pull your hand out, and then the yo-yo should wind right back up. So again, you just pinch, you're going to raise up a little bit. As soon as you start to feel it, you pull your hand out, and that'll cause the bind to work. Same thing on your trapeze, you're going to go over here, pinch, lift, pull your hand out, and that's going to help it come back up. Now a lot of guys, instead of pinching the string, what they do is they cross the string like this. And crossing can have the same effect. You're going to want to do the same thing. You're going to want to lift your yo-yo hand and drop this hand a little bit. And as soon as you start to feel that tension on the inside of the yo-yo, then you're going to want to pull your opposite hand out, and that'll cause the yo-yo to come back up. A lot of guys, that is the exclusive bind that they do, and it can work pretty effectively. The third kind of bind that you can do, again, a lot of guys do this. I don't really recommend it, and I'll explain why. But essentially what they do is they wrap the string around the axle like this, and while they're wrapping it, they throw the yo-yo up. And so the bind looks like that. And the reason I don't recommend this bind especially is because when you do that, the string, when it first starts to bind around the yo-yo, it's actually winding in the opposite direction, and the rest of the string winds up in the right direction. So when you throw it back out, you're always going to have that little bit of string that's going to come out of the yo-yo, and it's going to kind of mess up your throw a little bit. You may not really notice, you may not really care, and what's nice about that bind is that you don't have to flip it over. You can just get right into it from your normal mount, which is great. So those are just a few different techniques. Practice them, work on them, see which one you like. Now, as you're practicing those binds, you're going to find that you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can also use your binds to wind the yo-yo up if you're starting from a dead yo-yo. If you're going to do your normal wind-up trick like this, then to do your bind, you're going to want to mount it just like your front mount. If you want to get the yo-yo spinning like this, it's going to be spinning the opposite direction. So you're going to want to get it on in the opposite direction, or the direction you normally would for a side mount. One other technique that you can use that I like to use a lot is, instead of just spinning the yo-yo and getting it on the string here, you can do it all in one motion. So I like to spin the yo-yo, and while it's up in the air, I just catch it right on the trapeze, and then you can do your bind and get it right back. Again, that looks like this. And there's all sorts of different ways you can bind. If you watch different yo-yo players, you'll find that they favor different techniques. There's a lot of techniques that I didn't show you here, but hopefully these will get you started so you can start doing your unresponsive yo-yo tricks.